I can just sit here and draw my pretty pictures and watch you both sink into oblivion.
Is Elder Scrolls re-releasing? But Tish.
Very good. Let's start with that. Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast about video games and craft beer. I'm Ben. We're here with the returning Lucy.
Hello, I zoned out then. I didn't realise that you started recording.
Keep saying things. I've heard this before. It's fine. What's going on? And we're joined by Aadil.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Hi.
Let's drink some beers and talk about some games. Hooray!
Hooray!
That sounds great.
Aadil, what are you drinking?
Beers. I have 2 more beers from the Korea box because it is the last month of my dissertation and I had them in a fridge.
Yes.
Another one from Amazing Brewing Company. It is the Seongsu-dong Pale Ale, 4.8%. A light, easy-drinking American-style pale ale, hopped with Simcoe for fruity top notes, as well as earthy and savory pine character. Smooth and refreshing.
Nice.
Short and sweet?
Yeah. That Korea box was very good. I think I might have had that one, or maybe it's still waiting to be drank. I can't remember.
Do you two, just to interrupt the flow thing, no.
I don't see how these could have gotten shaken up in the fridge for a week and then up the stairs.
It's a poltergeist just shaking your fridge overnight. That's what it is.
One of your housemates just rattling it constantly when you're not in.
Or I really walk with vigor, but given how fucking exhausted I am,
just bounced up the stairs as you went to your room.
I'm going to pour this.
Yep.
And then I will hopefully catch up on what your beers are like when I listen later, because I need to clean the beer off the floor, which is a
Go. Lucy, what are you starting with?
I'm starting with a beer from, I believe it was in the Beer52 Boston Tea Party box.
Oh.
It's a dark Dunkel style beer from Harpoon. I'm trying to figure out what its name is. Is it called Love Beer, Love Life? I have no idea what it's called.
I don't know.
It's a beer from Harpoon.
Is that just their slogan?
Yeah, I don't know.
Dark. What's it saying? Dark.
Yeah. Dunkel style beer.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just called dark. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Crack that one open.
Yeah, there's nothing really. No, there's no flavour text really. It was imported by Adnams.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So I'm going to open. There's a lot of text on this can. I'm going to drink this from Fierce and Verdant. It's the 01 Citra, which is a Juicy IPA, 6%. So it's part of the single hop project. So 01 Citra, made with Verdant. It says the yeast is Imperial A38. And this IPA was brewed to accentuate the citrus and tropical fruit elements of the Citra hop strain. Juicy and hazy, the bitterness is kept low by adding only whirlpool and late dry hops. The A38 yeast adds stone fruit flavours to the beer, and the addition of a small amount of passion fruit puree adds an extra flavoured dimension. I've not had anything from the single hop project from Fierce before. This maybe it is 01. Whether there's any more out.
I've never heard of them.
So, the Fierce single hop project is designed to showcase individual hop strains and how their unique characteristics impart contrasting profiles in different beer styles, alongside varied yeast strains.
Yeah, a lot of breweries are doing that nowadays.
Yeah, they are. I think people are starting to get maybe not necessarily bored with just producing another IPA or another pale. They kind of want to see how well their craft is, I guess, and see what they can do with maybe a limited number of ingredients and things, pushing themselves possibly a little bit, rather than just a slightly different flavoured IPA.
Yeah, and it's quite a good marketing ploy. Like, it's incentive if you saying, oh, this beer we changed this and this one's this. It gives people incentive to buy them all.
Okay, completely. It's that gacha game style thing, isn't it? You got to get them all, haven't you? You've had 0-1, you've had 0-2, you've had 0-3. 0-4 comes up, you might as well get it.
Gacha beer sounds very expensive.
So before we launch into how these taste, a quick question for the both of you. With your Beer52 boxes, do you both get the same style and the same size box? I don't remember, because there's two different styles you can get, isn't there? There's is it mixed and a light?
Yeah.
So
I get mixed.
Yeah, I get mixed. Yeah, I think it's for people who don't particularly like stouts, so just get like light.
Right.
Just get like standard IPAs and stuff like that. I get the 10 beer package, but yeah, I've currently frozen it until something that looks interesting comes on. The Korean one was really interesting, so I stayed for that one. But yeah, I don't think they've announced next month's, as in March. So yeah, God knows what it's going to be.
I canceled my direct debit, but forgot to call them, and so I got a text message saying, "Your box is ready, but we can't send it to you." And I was like, "Well, subscription canceled."
It was an ongoing saga with the deal, and that was the only way he knew how to get out.
I mean, I'll try and call them again, but I was just like,
yeah, they're very good. The guy this time did upsell me. He was like, "Oh, if you unfreeze it at any point, you get £10 off your box." So I was like, "Okay, I'll just freeze rather than cancel." So
yeah, that's it's essentially what I did as well. But I've frozen it until I want it again. Essentially, they're quite good at sort of just reeling you in that little bit, just to keep you. But mine's the same. They gave me, they basically dropped the price of every box going forward by a little bit, and froze it until I think I got it frozen until like May or something like that.
nice.
So I'll just phone them again and say,
Maybe
not
not
this
this
month,
time.
maybe. But
we should really get sponsored by them at this point.
But I think conversations like this are probably not the best sponsorship.
No, I think we've
motivators.
been very nice. They're saying,
That's
"Look,
true.
you can freeze at any time. You got,
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly the only negative thing I have is when I cancel it and I didn't cancel it.
yeah,
And
I think maybe over the years I've not enjoyed some of the beers, especially sort of the own brewed ones. When they do a certain box and it's all beers from them. Whether that, I don't know. I mean, it's not for a lack of planning from them, because obviously them having to have gone and brewed those beers and then be ready for shipping shows some planning. It's not like they haven't gone out to breweries and had enough to be able to make a box or something. I think maybe just the direction that they kind of have gone in, maybe not so much in the last few months, but last year,
last year,
put me
there
off
was
it a little bit.
Me
Yeah,
too.
but
I mean, that's
towards
why I
the
tried
tail
to
end
cancel in August.
tail end of last year, they have definitely picked it back up now.
Yeah, and that's why I was sort of meh about switching. I actually don't even know if they have the right address. It's quite possible they sent. No, I got a box here, Korea box that I'm
I was
drinking
about to
from.
say there's
I
like
told you, on top of things, I am
52
not.
boxes outside. I know where you used to live. I'm gonna go there and take all your beer.
Just find all of these boxes just stacked up, waiting for them to come and collect.
Worth the trip to
I
Bristol.
suppose I should talk about my beer. I don't know where
Yep.
we're at.
After the Beer 52 section of the podcast, it's time to talk about our beers.
It is definitely fruity on the nose. Sort of a mild tropical, more passion fruit than mango. There's a bit of a malty sweetness there too. A touch.
It looks very crisp.
It is. It's got just enough carbonation for a pale ale. Although that might just be because I blew up in my face. I like it that I like it that it's a little flatter than like all the American pale ales. This is definitely probably because it blew up in my face, and I've lived in England for long enough that I'm getting used to more flat beers. It has a nice fruitiness, and I think the can mentioned a pininess. I see that right away. Just a nice touch of pininess on the finish. And then it sort of leaves with just a touch of bitterness, but it's really quite light. So it just mostly tastes like ale rather than bitter. And that finish is light and still there, 35 seconds later. Yeah, but it's very crisp. That pininess sort of helps keep that crisp character throughout.
Yeah.
Quite tasty beer. It's a good example of a pale ale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Nice.
Good start after the explosion.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about the second.
I'm sure it'll settle down in that time.
Get a little bowl to open it over.
Yeah. I blame you.
You chuck it up.
Lucy, how's
You
yours?
guys see him. I didn't realize you could see him.
Yeah, only just.
Yeah.
His little face is poking in the corner.
Cameo. Yeah.
Cat meow. Cat meow.
That is really good. Cameo.
I might have used all my brain
beer.
power up on that.
No, just leave it there. That's the episode title. Cameo. My Dunkel style beer. It's very dunkely. Yeah,
In a
it's
stylistic way?
yes, in a stylistic way. I'm enjoying it. It's got a nice coffee, like roasted coffee flavor. Not quite as much, in terms of like if you had a stout, you'd definitely have like those roasted malts and coffee and chocolate running through it, and very deep, rich flavor. This is much more pared back.
Okay.
In terms of sweetness and the coffee and the maltiness, but yeah, it's light. It's 5.2%. Didn't say that at the start, but yeah, it's something that we've been fortunate this February to have like decent weather. So it's like 11, 12 degrees during the day, which is usually a couple of years ago, which was basically the height of summer. So it's not like winter now, so I think this would serve better as like, oh, I'm drinking this during the day in the winter.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's nice. It's not doing a lot, but it's very smooth. It's very easy drinking. If you wanted to, you could easily knock this back. But I think just like the slight acidity from the chocolate and the coffee, it's probably would hold you back from drinking it all, just like downing it. But the taste is really good. I really enjoy this. I think all of the Harpoon beers from that box I enjoyed. So
Were there many?
Stuff. I think there was at least 3.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all pretty good. I'd have to drag up their names of what they are, but yeah, I've enjoyed every single one of them. So it's just another one.
Nice. Good.
Solid.
So the Fierce and Verdant 01 Citra collaboration Juicy IPA. It is certainly juicy. It's very, very hazy.
Oh wow!
See
It almost
there,
looks like a juice.
It does very much like under the spotlight. It is very orangey with that light sort of yellowness, a light tinge of yellow around the edges, slightly paler. Definitely getting a lot of citrus off of that, which gives it a little bit of a tang to it as well, which is nice. It's only 6%, but that tang kind of feels like maybe it's a little bit, when you get that sweetness, which is slightly alcoholic, whether that tang could kind of be mistaken for that. I don't think it is. It's more of a tang, I think, from the citrus. But there's those stone fruits, as they say, kind of not doing very much, but maybe just balancing the whole flavour down slightly. That sits really underneath everything else, kind of all the way through. Starts off very sort of very big, very kind of juicy, and that citrus it kicks in quite quickly, but it's quite a slow build. So the citrus kind of does this and then just ramps up quite swiftly after about 2 seconds. So I think what they tried to do is just balance everything. Obviously, they're just using citrus, so they're going to be getting a load of that citrus flavour coming through, and having to try and do everything else with the malts and obviously with the yeast, which they mentioned. Almost getting top billing to kind of maybe just drag everything down a little bit. So it's super super easy to drink, quite well balanced. Just that tang is quite nice just for something else, replacing maybe a bitterness, because there's no bitterness to this whatsoever. It's very, very easy.
Yeah, just looks like pure pineapple juice.
Almost. It does look like pineapple juice. It really does.
Yeah. You can just tell the viscosity just looking at it. Looks like it's got pulp in it almost.
Almost.
Yeah.
It's got a slight carbonation to it as well, which I think accentuates the tang slightly. But it's quite, it's not viscous. It's not thick. It's not syrupy. When we were getting some of those really, really hazy Cloudwater beers, that was super thick. It's not there. It is edging that way. It's maybe not quite as wet as a pale ale or like a standard IPA, perhaps. It's got a little bit of thickness to it, not much. But yeah, easy. Too easy.
What was the percentage again?
6.
Okay,
It's reasonable.
Chug it. It's fine.
Well, I've already poured the entire can in, and I've only got a third left, so yes, it's going down dangerously easy, as we say. So let's move on to games.
What are those?
Things that people play to enjoy themselves. Well, not necessarily.
You're meant to enjoy yourself.
There's lots of different experiences you can have with games.
It's actually
anger.
It's really hard to define. Wittgenstein actually used the concept of games to say that some concepts only are a set of things with family resemblances, because you can't give a set of properties that games have, because some will and will not have them, but they all sort of cluster together to and in virtue of that cluster that we have an understanding of the concept, even though there's no way to precisely define it, because you would lose things out of the cluster.
That was heady conversation, considering we're all absolutely shattered.
Games. I literally wrote about that today, and you said games.
So what are some of these? What's in the family cluster? What's that come under? Like interactive?
Well, no, it's like, okay, so we have a concept game. Yeah. And we could ascribe properties that pull out. So that concept corresponds to some set of activities or whatever. We want to understand what game means, so we say, okay, what are the properties all these things have? Points, pleasure, competition, opposing sides, winning conditions, all those things. We can find counterexamples to all of them, but most games have those things.
Right.
But there's there isn't even a core property that all games will have.
Sure.
True.
So they just are sort of a bunch of different ideas that have a family resemblance to each other, but if we try to give us concrete set of properties, things we definitely think are games would fall out of them.
You should do a GDC talk.
There is
on philosophy of language.
Yes, and games.
There is. Aadil, you'd be interested in this. Maybe I should lend it to you. There's a book called 10 Things Video Games Can Teach Us, which is on my shelf currently, and I think it says about life something and something, and it's
how to be a whiny little baby.
Where Nintendo stop fucking up Zeldas. There we go. Teaches us about life, philosophy, and everything. By Jordan Erica Weber. And I did start reading this, but I moved on to a book about disaster capitalism instead. But the
like reading.
I know. This is what I'm reading at the moment. Like the intro, and I think the first chapter talks about games and philosophy essentially, and kind of what they're going to be going into within the book. So I was like, it was super interesting. I don't think I was quite in the mood for it when I started it.
Right.
It's something I will return to. It's on the shelf in the list of things next to the Portable Atheist, which is not a portable book whatsoever. But it's a super interesting concept.
Yeah, definitely.
That needs to kind of be explored maybe a little bit more. Aadil?
Well, I think with interactive technologies as well, even our like Wittgenstein wrote this in like 1920 something. But now, like, there's so many more different ways we can interact with the world and each other and things and manufactured things that it's definitely the case that there's never going to be an all-encompassing definition.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet if he was still alive, he'd be a hardcore Dota player. Just the sense I get.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Would he give people shit constantly as well?
Yeah.
It's interesting that kind of like the first word that I thought of was interactive, but we kind of start to get to the things that, you know, like a choose your own adventure book is interactive. You're making decisions. You're choosing what to happen. That's not. Is that a game? Even the Black Mirror episode that recently came out, Bandersnatch.
Yeah.
Which is based on kind of like a choose your own adventure style system, at least branching paths and making a decision on what to do. Is that a game? It's interactive. Yes,
it seems like it's not though, right?
But well, yeah. Does everything kind of lead you to the same point? I'm not sure. I didn't finish that either. But
yeah, I mean, the other thing is, what was I say? Fucking derail myself. It was coming off of your thing, about thing, and then I was gonna say other thing, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, that makes sense." So why don't you just say that makes sense, and we can move on?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Very insightful.
That's gonna bother me.
It's fine. Just burst in with it later when we're in the middle of talking about something else. It's fine. It'll come back. Something that I think maybe we'll return to when you're not as philosophied out, Aadil.
Walking simulators. Most people would classify people were like, these aren't real games, or these aren't games. They're something else.
Yeah, and I always hark back to everyone should listen to Steve Gaynor's GDC talk about like why Gone Home is a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, but I mean, I was just pointing this out as this idea of this fixed criteria won't work, and like the Black Mirror episode is sort of on a continuum of being able to influence the narrative instead of just passively consume it, even though all the steps are sort of pre-written, the ordering and how you interact with them are different.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what we called them. What would we call them? Narrative
experience walking simulators.
Yeah. News. I couldn't remember if it was like exploration or if it was experience.
Might be exploration. Narrative exploration walking simulators, like Firewatch.
Yeah.
Narrative exploration walking simulator. There we go.
Yeah. And what we're saying is news is games.
Yes. I think at the center of the Venn diagram of what makes a game is crunch. That's right at the center. Incorporates all games.
Fair enough.
Yeah. How sad.
So it turns out I brought a topic, which was this last thing we talked about. So I don't need to give up another topic. I'm saying I derailed this for sufficiently long. This is now my topic.
That's good. I'm glad.
Yeah. I didn't have anything else, but when in doubt, just start talking about Wittgenstein.
Just throw him in anytime you stumble, even mid-sentence. Wittgenstein. It's it all comes back to him.
Tooltip to the reader: this is a bad general rule. Dates going bad? Wittgenstein. Nope. Or very yes. In which case, you're in luck.
What was the other thing? Did you say you didn't bring anything? So that was going to be your topic.
No, yeah, I was saying I had forgotten all about topics until you mentioned your topic, and then I was like, oh fuck! But I derailed us, and we actually talked about games and what makes a game, and so that's a topic. And I think walking simulators / narrative exploration / news are games. I just said they're sort of on a continuum from like Bandersnatch, and my gut, it's like, I don't think Bandersnatch is a game, but I can't tell you what would make it not a game, except maybe like more control, but that seems like a vague notion.
Yeah, because a lot of like Telltale's pretty much the same,
Yeah, and like fucking old school text adventures. Everything's pre-scripted. You just have to figure out what to do. And to me, like, those are clearly games, but I think part of it is the figuring out, maybe. But I haven't actually done Bandersnatch, so maybe this is just because I assume it's like a branching narrative.
Yeah,
It's a game when you hook a keyboard up to your TV. It's a game then.
Oh, okay.
Well, you don't even
Fucking
have to do that. Just
PS4s are no games. No games on the PS.
But then you've got games like is it called Late Shift?
Yeah,
Is it the live action game, which I have installed on my machine. I've never played it.
It's
Is it
fun.
like a FMV game?
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be good for an evening with you and Kim.
That's exactly what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for an evening where we're both in the mood to play that.
Yeah.
Hey, but that's not happened for a long time. The game, obviously. So there are experiences out there which which Bandersnatch can be compared to, I suppose, or at least it's kind of this live action choose a path or choose a narrative to follow kind of action.
Well, and the thing is, those FMV games were clearly games. So what makes Bandersnatch different? That I play with my remote control. I will play Bandersnatch in March. I said play. There we go.
Well, we played it with a DS4 because we were on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
So
I've been playing Netflix every so often.
So that kind of it doesn't necessarily kind of like negate that point, but even control pad or how you play, what you play with, kind of is taken out of the equation essentially.
I find that a bad rubric because of the reasons we just said about Netflix and stuff, and also made up games that children do use fucking bullshit whatever's lying around, and so it can't be object based. You know what? I think maybe I'm now getting to the point where I'm overanalyzing responses of this Beer and Video Games podcast. So I'm going to say thanks for coming along. Topic 1 is over. What's the next topic?
What makes a beer? A beer. And then Ben will end with what makes a podcast a podcast. Ads.
Not this shit.
Can you have a beer that doesn't have the core ingredients?
Yes.
Do you know of one, or are you just saying that it would still be a beer?
I can't think of any beer I've had which doesn't have
Malt,
hops,
yeast,
malts, or yeast, and water.
and water.
Yeah. And
Make
alcohol.
a beer
I
without
think the
water.
process. I think the process is the stages of the process, though. How you approach the process and what you put in at different times, I think, is probably malleable. But I think the base recipe makes a beer versus other things.
Well,
What were the old-timey beers? But they all had, yeast in them, though, still.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know enough about these things, but I would suggest that at least... I would suggest that beer is a more stable concept than games.
Yeah, it's more well-defined.
Yeah.
Can't change it.
Turns out logic is not well-defined.
Yeah, I think a brewery should make a beer without water.
Oh, God.
What would they use
Astronaut
instead?
Vodka. Straight vodka.
Fucking hell.
That has water in it.
Yeah, it would, yeah. Unless you...
So the problem is if you try to get rid of the water, you would get rid of the alcohol first in any sort of chemical process that I can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you just have a kind of terrible tasting powder. Without the party effect.
Well, you just snort it then.
A powder. Brilliant.
Beer for your nose.
Could you, like Toast does, with using bread that is... from the bakery that it hasn't been sold or however they get their bread, could you recycle your beer to go back into your beer? Rather than using water, you could use your beer as the water, or would that fuck it up completely?
I mean, I
Proper
think it might. I don't know. I don't remember enough about the process of beer making at this point.
This is a conversation for someone who makes beer.
Yeah, and then the first and only conversation you'll have. Can you like make beer with beer? Like, what if I can finish your beer? Can I pour it in a bucket? And then when the bucket gets full enough, can I make that bucket into more beer?
God, not
Like a different beer.
not unopened, undrunk beer. I was thinking more like just non-sold beer. But you know,
I'm aware.
we could just
I mean, I
collect
think the
the
stage
cans
in which
back and just
carbonation
get
is-
every tiny drip out of each can.
Yeah, just like
think-
carling off the bar into a bucket.
Oh, those sticky floors, just wipe your shoes at the end
I
of the
mean,
night.
there
into-
used to be a bar in Calgary called Cowboys where they had a $1 draft night, small cups and draft, and the rumor was that it was just like all of the overflow resold, and it tasted like the rumor was true.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
it's a
how-
classy place.
You know, it's how it's not necessarily, but it's Weatherspoons kind of was able to make really cheap or sell beer really cheaply because they were able to buy in volume beer that was right at the end of its kind of sell-by date.
Right.
So they're able to buy it super cheap to sell it back to people super cheap. I don't know whether that's still what they do.
I didn't
'cause
realise
Weatherspoons
that.
is still pretty cheap.
I never got into the spoons culture that is part of Britishness.
You're missing out, mate. We're going to get you a full English. I'm going to stay there all day.
Oh,
Thing is,
jeez, I'd rather
it
not
has
give
to be
that
a veggie.
prick my money.
To be honest, that sounds like a decent plan to me. They actually, the last time I went to Weatherspoons, which is probably a couple of years now, but
Yeah, I've not been to one for a long time.
yeah, they were starting to do like, you know, you would get like your Sierra Nevada, your Brew Dog, like your Flying Dog and stuff like that. So they were, you know, inching their way into that market. Still, and you could get them for pretty cheap, and you know, stuff like Brew Dog, you know, don't taste half bad.
Yep.
It's okay.
Oh, in fact, I think the last time I went into Weatherspoons was last summer for my mate's stag do.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, you tell me. Didn't you just switch to whiskey like straight away? Or something?
Well, I think is it called Shipyard?
Probably.
It's like I think it's like an American pale ale that is sold pretty much in every Weatherspoons going. And I drank that, I'm like, no, I'm done, thanks. And I just switched to rum.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then we banged our drinks back and then went to an escape room and then went back to the Weatherspoons. I'm like, brilliant.
Yeah.
Really?
Could we not have gone somewhere else? We went to a faux German beer keller afterwards and drank, I can't remember, Paulner Hefeweizen or something like that probably. But
Yeah.
at least it was
Weatherspoons
slightly
is
better
great.
than the shit Weatherspoons beer.
Yeah, if you've got the intention of just getting drunk,
That makes sense.
it's good. Yeah. Cheap.
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 Yeah.
Edible beers.
It's an interesting kind of concept, really, that Weatherspoons sort of exists as a social space for a lot of older
Variety
people.
of people.
That's why it opens at like 7 a.m.
Yeah, and people can, you know, and seems to serve alcohol from that time as well. Whether
Why
they've
wouldn't
just
you?
got whether they've just got 24-hour licensing for every venue
Yeah.
that they have.
Yeah.
They open, they serve, and you're off straight away. But every time you go into Weatherspoons, the thing I don't like about Weatherspoons is there's no atmosphere.
Oh,
no
there
one
is.
in there. No one in there cares.
Just not the
about
one
you.
that you want.
There's just
Certainly
10,
not, yeah.
10 people all sat all
Yeah,
by
on different
themselves,
tables.
all in a circle, just
They've all
as a
yeah.
massive vacuum, just
They're all, like,
dragging all of the
70 years
atmosphere
old.
out of the fucking room, just
Yeah.
taking it away. And as soon as
Sounds
you
about
walk
right.
into it, you think, "Oh, it's kind of acceptable, I
Mm.
suppose. I'll have a breakfast. I wasn't coming in here for a breakfast, but I have one now."
They're all like 70 years old with like long white beards, and they literally look like carbon copies of each other. And it's like, didn't I just see you? And it's like, oh, that's a different
Wouldn't you
I
outside
teleport across the
smoking?
room.
But then you know, towards the evening, you might get a few people there, like on a Friday night, and People are dancing drunkenly to like just weird 90s songs, doing karaoke. And it is a sight.
Where you get all the 16-year-olds these days? Because
Really?
well, when I was not
I
a
thought
lot of them
16-year-olds
have.
just stayed at home and played Fortnite. I didn't think they drank.
No, they
That's
went
true.
on to Apex Legends now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, their battle royale game of choice, but a lot of the drinking age does seem to, not the drinking age has changed, but the demographic of people drinking is definitely getting older because a lot of younger people aren't going out as much.
They haven't had life hard like us. That's what it is.
Well, they obviously when I was like 20, 21 is when they started getting super hot on IDing people on the door, and the fines got really big for underage drinking for venues and people. And I think that's it's about a year or so maybe before the 24-hour licensing came in. So, or maybe it's roughly around about the same sort of time. So I seem to remember places that, I used to work in a venue that I'd been drinking in since I was 16, and I hit 18 and I start working there. And the owner was like, "You've been here for years." I'm like, "Yeah, well, what are you gonna do?" And then suddenly, a couple of years later, it was just like super hot on IDing everybody and not letting in anyone underage. That they were just there seems to be less places, or at least less licensed establishments for people underage to kind of go to. I mean, there should be none, obviously. That's the law, but I seem to think that Weatherspoons to me seems like that kind of place that you can kind of chance it just a little bit. That maybe if you get in early and there's no one on the door and you've got a little bit of stubble, and you're balding just a little bit at 16, you can probably get a beer.
Yeah,
I was just talking about legal drinking, but fair enough then.
I suppose for legal purposes, just in case Weatherspoons listen and we get sued, no one underage obviously drinks Weatherspoons. They must ID everybody. They've got
at least to our knowledge, and we would discourage them if we knew.
Exactly.
I've clocked it. They're not going out to bars. What they're doing is they're going on Amazon Now or something, and then just buying it and then just getting delivered to their house within an hour.
Yeah, they have a dash button that's like
Amazon pantry. Someone on a moped appears. Mate, you can get, there are services that will just go to where you want them to and pick you up booze and bring it to you.
Yeah.
I don't know how those services work, whether it's online, whether you have to provide ID, whether...
I'm sure there's a bunch of, we should do X, but we don't have to do X.
Because they're not really checking... I don't know, if you're putting your card details in, they're not checking your date of birth, are they? Can't they?
I doubt it. Not if it's your card.
Exactly. You just say that you're 18. Why wasn't I born in the year 2000? Make life easier.
I managed my fair share of, hypothetically, if I turned 18 in 2001, I still managed to have fun at parties and go to pubs in preceding years.
Yeah.
So I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Apparently, kids these days don't drink nearly as much as we did when we were their age.
No, they don't.
Like underage, etc.
Just
and even
different.
Into undergrad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
the broad demographic, obviously, there'll be counterexamples.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I only know one person now who is... Well, he's 18. Is he 18 or is he 19? I don't know. My brother's one of those ages, 18 or 19. And he doesn't go out drinking, and he doesn't drink beer or cider at all. It's just a straight whiskey drinker.
Solid.
But he will drink at home because he is playing Overwatch or something with a group of people that he's chatting to all night on Discord, that he talks to every day, and has his group of mates, and they all play. And occasionally they go out. That they all do live in the same, or a lot of them live in the same place. The ones that kind of went to uni, I think, are still part of the group, but they do go out occasionally when someone comes back from uni.
Right.
And that's when they
it's
go
a special occasion
out. Exactly.
The pub isn't an occasion in and of itself anymore.
Yeah, and you know, if Kim and I are like, should we just go to the pub? You know, if Kim's mum's here to look after Evelyn, we might just whip up to the pub for a couple of pints. I don't think the slightly younger generation, or those who are between sort of 18 and early 20s, kind of do that very much.
No, I'm like, even I've not had a like regular pub that I go to, because the ones around here, even before I was into craft beer, you wouldn't want to go to anyway. But yeah,
I go to the pub frequently.
Oh yeah, like now I go to like bars all the time and just yeah. But
I hear what you're saying.
Not a regular. Like I'm happy to flit around. I obviously I have a lot of regulars, but when you have a lot of regulars, you're not always in them every week. That's what it is.
That could be very misconstrued, that sentence. But
it's fine.
I mean, is it one of those, Lucy, that you just prefer to kind of to drink kind of on your own sort of time, when you're doing something else that you enjoy? Is going to the pub like an event? Is it when like a friend is about, or with your partner, do you just go, let's just go to the pub?
No, I don't really go to pubs nowadays, Like, it is just mainly tap rooms and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like... Yeah. I don't know, like... It's a sad state of affairs, because, like, pubs, they're obviously dwindling in their numbers nowadays, and, my generation is probably a reason for that, but... yeah, it's just... I did that going out every Friday to like Weatherspoons and doing that, and it's just like you get tired of that. Sometimes you just want to sit down and talk to people.
That's where I talk to people, at the pub.
Yeah,
in Weatherspoons, where there's no music or atmosphere at all.
Mm.
You don't need music, that drowns out your conversation.
That's what I'm saying. But in like Weatherspoons, after a certain point during the night, they start playing music, and it's like, I don't want to hear this blaring music, and it's like, ugh. Yeah, I just like going to a nice, quiet place. Yeah, and it's like, even like tap rooms, like people bringing all their children there, and that's a different story altogether. It's like, this is not a crash, people. This is not a crash.
I think maybe it's, at least for us, it's perhaps a lot to do with like with beer choice as well. So the closest pub to us currently isn't a pub, it's a Toby Carvery, and you can go in, you can just sit in the bar area,
right? And
I go in and I drink Guinness, because it's the only slightly tasty beer they have. They've got Hop House on as well, but just lacks too much for me when you're drinking stuff like this every week. So I go in and I have a Guinness. The pub that's maybe a few more minutes further down the road, again, is it's a brewery. It's like a bigger brewery-owned pub. I cannot remember which one it is, because I rarely drink any of their beers again. Who makes Pedigree? That brewer might be Marston's. Yeah, and again, I just drink Guinness because that's the tastiest beer they have on.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So, but I think that's kind of part of the problem now. A lot of people are kind of shifting in their tastes, and with so much more on offer in the last, say, 5 years, the standard kind of, brewery-owned pub is definitely losing a little bit of share to tap rooms, to bottle shops with taps in. That's the last place I drank a beer inside was the bottle shop.
Mine was the Highbury Vaults, which I was at on Monday.
Which is a wine bar.
No, the Highbury Vaults is a shitty Bristol institution.
No, it is. It's no longer. I'm sure it used to be called the Highbury Wine Bar.
I think it might be the Kingsdown Wine Vaults on Kingsdown Parade.
Yes, I think you're right.
It used
I think
to be
that's
a wine place, and now doesn't really do wine, especially, but it's still called technically called the Kingsdown Wine Vaults. The Highbury Vaults is what I'm thinking. St. Michael's Hill by the Co-op.
Yeah.
But like, carry on. I was just
I was
gonna...
just going to say a little bit of Bristol for everybody if they want to come in and
Yes.
find somewhere to drink.
They have the proper job now on, which is a decent IPA, and they've put it on in the past couple of weeks, because otherwise we're talking like gem and tribute.
Yeah.
And like, I've had so much tribute in my life because after every post-grad whip, and we go to the hybrid vaults, and I've been doing this PhD for 6 years on and off in this country. So yeah, that is a Bristol institution for me, because it's really hard to convince philosophers not to go to that place around the corner that we always go to.
Yes. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, even when I do end up in a pub, like, usually I've gone out to like a tap room and just end up in a pub anyway. It's like I usually just order water, you know, which is part of the problem. It's like I'm not putting any money back into that place.
That's really funny.
That's why I'm doing it. Yeah. So I'm just like, you just have the same things that I know that I don't like. I've had it before, and it's like, I'm good. I'll just have a water.
Yeah, that's I think it's why places like, at least in Bristol, places like King Street, where you've got small bar and beer emporium and things, do so well because people have shifted, you know, where they want to go and the kind of the drinks that they want to consume, and to have that constant rotation of choice as well, to not go in and you know, they might just have the you know, the standard good chemistry or cloud water or whatever on. But they don't do that. They constantly change the beers that they have available to people. So it almost entices you to go back, you know, in a couple of weeks' time when they've got a completely different selection of beers on, which is not something that pubs tend to do. They have the same.
Yeah, craft pubs are a great concept. That, like, even the Brewdog pubs don't just do Brewdog. So they'll have their standard things, but they'll have a rotation of other things. And I think that's key to engaging with the demographic of people who like different, interesting craft beers.
Yeah.
Because I mean, especially with more and more smaller bottle shops coming up, like, you're getting your variety. You can get your variety more conveniently somewhere.
Yeah.
But that surprise of what do they have on tap, plus being out and social, is like a really great thing.
Yeah. And it's like, if I know I'm going to be in a pub for even a long haul, and it's not just there on a whim just quickly, it's like, if they have anything in the fridge that makes me, you know, like, oh, I like that, you know, then yeah, I'd have something out of the fridge, but they usually don't even have that at the time. But yeah, there's a lot of places that are up and coming in Birmingham where it's like, nowadays you're always going to find something that you like, but just going out more and more out of the city centre, you do not find that kind of selection, which is
which makes sense. It makes sense. It's sort of, it's very much the same with Bristol as well. Speaking of Birmingham, I'm gonna open up my second beer.
Oh,
what is it?
It is Dagger Dagger.
Oh, that's the one I had as well. I'm so
Lucy.
stupid.
From Dig Brewing Company, double IPA, 8%.
Oof.
My bad. I had it on Monday.
Hey, so you know what I'm expecting.
Yes.
So
I can
it's
comment
got
at least.
Cryo and T90 Citra double dry hopped Imperial IPA. They said an Imperial IPA in their very small flavour text, and then a double IPA as the style.
They're new to canning.
So yes, it is the first. It's the first Dig Brewing Company beer I've seen in the bottle shop. I don't know whether they had any others from them, but this was the only one they had when I went in. I knew they had it. I wanted to pick it up because of our little trip last year to Birmingham, and the you know, we spent some time in Dig.
Yeah, we did.
And sampled maybe like 3 or 4 beers from them, didn't we?
Which one was Dig?
Yeah.
Dig was the one where you fell asleep.
Yeah, that's okay.
Brilliant.
I had a
I'm
feeling.
So glad you said that. Yeah, yeah, it's a nice atmosphere in there. I'd like to see them have fewer taps and concentrate on like a smaller range, because they have like, that's something crazy like 9-10 taps, and they're all different.
Yeah, they have. Yeah,
Every
it's more
time
than
I go in
that.
there. Yeah.
Like when we went in, there was like maybe like there was maybe 20 taps,
Mm.
or like 4 banks of 5 taps, or 5 banks of 4 taps, something like that.
Yeah,
And
there's
some of them
at
just
least
weren't
12.
weren't being kind of used, and maybe they had maybe about 10 different beers on tap. I think when we went,
Yeah. Because some of them like that, they're like really, really, really nice, and then some of them are just like, yeah, you know, average. But it's like if they
Why
could
not
stick
just have the
to,
really nice ones?
yeah, if they could stick to like refining those really, really nice ones, then that'd be great. But I mean, I'll just say, Ben, I really like that beer that you're about to have. So
yeah,
like, it's good that they've chosen the selection to start canning, and you know, it looks like they've refined some of their recipes, because it was like, this is a very good beer, could have been a great beer. And so yeah, I have to go back down there. I haven't been quite some time. It's a nice atmosphere. It's very
it was. I really liked it. Really enjoyed it.
yeah. See them working. Yeah, cool.
Nice. So I'm going to crack into that. Lucy, what are you drinking?
I will put down the Dunkel beer, and I'll pick up the left-handed giant beer. Who are we talking about?
We've swapped
yeah,
cities
yeah.
this week.
Because Mr. Callum is back in the UK,
Ah, he is. Yes.
and fingers crossed for him, where I can just start hassling for new left-handed giant beers. Yeah, this is. I didn't realise it was a 10.5% barley wine.
Oofa doofa.
Yeah, I just looked. I just picked it up like as soon as I got back home.
Pink can.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, that's probably going to be like a 4%, like, you know, pale ale or something.
Now
Ten
that's
point
a,
five
that's a,
percent.
yeah, that's a beer made for a woman.
It's called Life Without Oxygen. As I said, American barley wine, 10.5%. Hops, Chinook, Columbus, Simcoe, malt, pale ale, caramel, crystal, special B, and chocolate. Okay. Well, it's a barley wine, I guess. Yeast, USO5, WLP002. I'm sure someone out there knows what that means. Other dextrose. Yeah, there's no flavour text, so just gonna have to hop in there and see what it's like.
Nice.
Awesome.
Aadil, what are you finishing on?
It is the Wild Wave Brewing Brown Porter, classified as an artisanal ale. It is robust yet elegant brown beer with a smooth body and notes of chocolate, burnt toast, and leather, alongside a pleasant residual sweetness. Fuck me. Alongside a pleasant residual sweetness, proof positive that dark beers also make great everyday drinkers. So it's written sideways on the can, and I didn't want to tip it at all because of the fucking blow up of the last one.
Yep.
And then I couldn't read well because I suck at this.
So, was that a brown ale or a
Brown porter.
A brown porter?
Yeah. So it says on the top, and this might just be because it's like imported and like rebranded or whatever. It says artisanal ale, but I mean,
Just another word for craft beer, isn't it, really?
brown porter.
Brown porter, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder what makes it brown. why? Like, I mean, porters are usually like
Dark.
black, yeah. So
Maybe it's less black. And survey says
it's just being PC. Stupid.
looks
beer.
like a porter.
Well,
Well, it smells like a porter.
maybe
Yeah.
it's
Why is it brown?
like, wow, I'm trying to think kind of like, what does, is
Like
it
a
like a
brown
mixed beer?
ale
Like, is it a
and-
bit of a brown ale? Is it a bit of a porter? Like, what?
I mean, it literally doesn't say that. It just says it's a brown porter, 5.2%. I think the artisanal ale might be a thing they put on all their cans, possibly, because it's just sort of
Right.
up here in
Yeah, it
extra
might
fonts.
be.
And then, like I said, in the in the flavor text, it says robust yet elegant brown beer with a smooth body. I think it's just
Yeah.
I don't
That's what threw me off with it saying brown beer.
Yeah. It is. Is this one of the ones that has been clearly gone through Belgium somehow? Yes. So it's possible through the chain of linguistic command, things have just gotten a little rough.
It's like, is it wall meat? Is it wall chicken? Is it wall turkey? We'll never know.
Nice.
Oh.
Anyway, can I just
Anyway.
say before you even say anything, Ben, just the smell on this, just reminded me of like Wiper and True, just like
Yeah?
very orangey, malty, tangerine-y.
Really?
Like yeah, it's just bringing me back to like I can't remember the name of the Wiper and True beer, but maybe it was the one with the elephant. I can't remember. There's a lot of ones with elephants.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
are you thinking of Quintet,
elephant.
the one with all of the hops?
possibly it might be.
Because
Just took
it's
me
one
back.
of the most like nose full.
Just took me
And
down
citrusy,
that
yeah.
memory lane. That's all I had to say for that.
Nice.
Well, I mean, you poured first. Why don't you speak first? And taste
Yeah,
first?
why don't you chat about it as you're nose deep?
Yeah, you're getting like that caramelly, malty, orangey, like sweetness on the nose. It's wonderful. It smells like a incense candle, just orange incense candle. It's like
So super fragrant.
not quite the rind of the orange, but like I don't know, maybe a bit of zestiness of the orange, and maybe like the juice of the orange as well.
Is it maybe it's the juice with a little bit of zest thrown in just to give it that extra
Yeah,
little bit of kick to it.
yeah. It doesn't smell alcoholic at all, and it doesn't taste alcoholic at all either.
Oh wow, that's a
Quite
dangerous barley
dangerous,
wine.
Yeah,
you
it's
getting any of the chocolate?
yeah, a little bit. And the worst thing in the world is Terry's chocolate orange, but you're not quite. Yes, I said it.
Lies and slander.
Fruit and chocolate don't go together, people.
It's interesting because
Oh, that
a
is
couple of
so
weeks ago,
false.
well, a few episodes ago, when I had a left-handed giant, which was like a Terry's chocolate orange, or it was called like a double chocolate orange something, which had like orange oil in it.
Yeah.
And
I
it
remember
was
that.
super chocolatey, super orangey, and really gave me that viscosity and feel of a Terry's chocolate orange. It was like super on the nose with that. So it'd be interesting if this beer is kind of the leftovers almost. And they go, we've got a load of orange oil here. Actually,
Possibly.
let's chuck it into another beer and see kind of what that does.
Yeah, but you
You
are
just
definitely getting that
cannot-
chocolate.
You cannot let go of this idea of putting old beer in new beer.
It's a revolutionary, I tell you.
Reuse, recycle.
I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't know if that joke was worth cutting you off, Lucy. I didn't realize you were saying something
it
the same.
was. Don't worry. But yeah, you are getting that chocolatiness. It's like I don't know if it's because it's very bitter at the end. So I'm not sure if that's like dark chocolate like contributing to that bitterness.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are definitely feeling a bit of chocolate at the end. It's still quite lingering in my mouth actually. The chocolate, but yeah, it's very juicy, very smooth at the start. It's not heavy, it's not thick at all for a 10.5% beer. It's very easy drinking. You do feel a bit of like alcohol burn in your stomach, like
Yeah.
a few sips, but it's warming. It's not unpleasant. It's very easy drinking barley wine, and it just amazes me like how like a lot of the. In fact, I think I had 2 barley wines. Was it last week? Where was I last week? Somewhat, probably in a hole. But yeah, I had like 2 barley wines. Like one was like I think it was a Tiny Rebel.
Oh yes, that's where you were last week.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one of the 3 places I was last week. Yeah, they had like a what was it? What was it? Because they had like fruit in it. I think. Oh, I'll have to get back to you on that. But yeah, that was like 11.4% barley wine or something like that, and it was just so easy drinking. So it's amazing how these brewers are just able to ramp up the percentage yet make it as easy drinking as like a 6% IPA.
Yeah.
Crazy and dangerous.
Yeah. We've talked before about sort of like viscosity and like that alcohol feel and things. I wonder whether with a barley wine that thinness to it kind of contributes to dragging that down very slightly. Yes, it might be 10.5%, but that kind of that thinning of its consistency perhaps just takes away a little bit. We've commented that a few more viscous beers kind of show through a little more, with their kind of their alcoholic sweetness. So maybe
but-
it just knows kind of how that balance between mouthfeel, viscosity should work with just pulling that alcohol down, maybe.
Yeah, because I've definitely had like barley wines that have been very thick, very heavy. But this one, yeah, not at all. Just gonna, whilst you talk about your beers, I'm just gonna look at what the Tiny Rebel ones were.
Yes. So the Dagger Dagger. This is very nice. It's kind of, it's edging on juicy. It's not quite there, but it's edging towards it. It's got those tropical flavors in there, but it's almost got this slight creaminess to it. I don't know whether I can't imagine there's lactose in it. Is there? I mean, there can't be lactose in it. It's got a big vegan V on the back of it. So there's just this, whether it's oats or something like that, perhaps.
Yeah.
Which is just giving it this slight creaminess to it as well. The alcohol is not coming through at all. Not at all. I know they said there's Cryo and T90 Citra double dry hopped. So there's Citra in this, but it's not the same flavour profile as that Fierce Verdant beer. It doesn't quite have the tang that the previous beer had. It's balanced out very slightly. It is citrusy, but there's maybe a little bit of melon going on as well, perhaps. Just to pull that away. Something else there.
I had like lychee like flavors. Is what I tasted.
Yeah.
Like slight lychee, but yeah, it definitely had a creaminess to it. Smoothness as well, but yeah, it wasn't quite all the way a juice bomb, but. As you say, it does have those juicy tendencies without going overboard with it.
Exactly,
it still tastes like a beer.
It does.
Quite a bit of pininess to it as well, which I liked at the end.
It does, yeah. That bitterness kind of is brought on by that pininess, a very, very slight kind of earthiness to it right at the end. And
yeah, because I remember when I was checking it in on Untapped, I was like, I was gonna put earthy on it, but I was like, maybe piney is a bit more relevant. But yeah, it's definitely getting those like earthy heads.
It definitely, maybe it's the more I drink it, the kind of like the pinier it become, or the more that again will balance out very slightly. And saying that there wasn't that tang, that does actually kick in but right at the end. But because of that pininess to it and that bitterness, it pulls it right down. The Fierce and the Verdant, the Citra beer didn't have any bitterness to it, which is perhaps why that tang was kicking right up.
Right.
Whereas this, the tang starts but comes in almost at exactly the same time with that pininess and the bitterness, which maybe just drags that tang down. And it leaves me super dry. I just want to keep drinking this beer. And I will. Aadil. How's yours?
Sorry to interject, Aadil. The Tiny Rebel barley one was a dark cherry and chocolate one, so not too dissimilar. Chocolate and fruit. But yeah, that was nice.
The dark ambition I really liked last week was also a raspberry and had chocolatey notes to it too.
Got the triple whammy: raspberry, orange, and cherry.
Smells like a porter. I'm getting a bit of that leather right off the nose. And that those burnt malt sort of notes. It smells like porter.
Like slight coffee, roasted malts.
Yeah. On that side of the roasted. Wow, it's really light. It doesn't coat the mouth as much as I would think. It's what is it? 5.2%. I'm getting those malts are the primary flavor. It's it is quite smooth. Near the finish, you're getting a little bit of bitter peeking out, but I honestly thought I was expecting a little more sort of robustness on those roasted malt flavors. It's actually the smoothness is just curving those right out. So they're there, but they're very sort of in the background from where I was expecting.
Maybe it is a hybrid beer then. Like, you kind of think with the brown ale.
Yeah,
like
I mean, like I
said,
said, it's not as viscous as I was expecting. It's quite light. It's only 5.2%, which you can porters range around, but tend to move a bit closer to 6+.
Yeah, I'd expect it to be a bit higher, perhaps.
Yeah,
no, I've had low porters like in the 4s, and
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they're always super thin.
I think it's the viscosity being not there is throwing me off. It does peak with a sweetness that reminds me of like a high alcohol porter.
Okay.
Which is surprising given that it's only 5.2%. It's like the inverse of what you were saying about the barley wine, where it doesn't have that sweetness. And I don't think it's this sickly sweet alcohol taste. It peaks it's sort of very narrow and peaks quite a bit. So it reminds me of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think maybe having had it, the brown porter brownness is that it's pulling away from a sort of heavier porter style.
Possibly. It sounds like what I pretty much had the first time, the first beer. Like, you have dunkeliness.
Not as much as I'd like. I think the lightness isn't terrible, but I think the whole flavor profile is kind of normalized low. Mm-hmm. And I personally like when the flavor takes you on a bit of a trip.
Yeah.
This is very much in the same range. And then as things fade, the finish is actually quite interesting. It has that sweetness that sort of was there the whole time, but was buried under other things. But yeah. Good porter.
Yep. Good
Nice.
beers.
Nice.
You, Ben?
I'm enjoying it. It's good.
Oh, yes, you already went. See,
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's got to me already.
We're done.
10.5%.
All right, so
We're all done. Everything's done.
topic 2.5, whatever we're at.
Yeah. I can talk briefly about a game, because I haven't really been playing anything.
Okay.
Unless you count New York Times crosswords.
Are you a crossword person?
After my year at a place where I was doing hardly anything but crosswords after a certain time, I decided to purchase a subscription to the New York Times. So yeah, I've just been doing those like all the time.
Interesting. I've never really had the patience for them.
I hate them. But
No,
because
I don't
I've done so many of them that it's like, oh, I saw that clue before in like last week's puzzle. So. But yeah, I'm enjoying them. I don't know. It's maybe I should talk just about New York Times crosswords.
Well, it's a thing, right?
Yeah, it's like, it's got a big community following behind it. It's like these big things, and it's like it was just because like the daily mini ones, because the mini ones were only ones I could do.
Right.
4x4 grid, very simple. Those are always free every day. So I started with those, and then I started moving on to the bigger ones. And throughout the week, they get harder, and it's like I can do up to Wednesday's puzzle, and then everything after that is just
So
like,
I didn't realize that it built in. I knew the Sunday one was the epitome of crosswords.
Yeah, I
didn't realize that the Saturday one was tougher than the Friday one, which was tougher than the Thursday. That's totally news to me.
Because it started with Monday ones. Mondays I can do pretty confidently now. Sub 10 minutes, which is someone out there, probably a crossword geek, just be like, I can do it in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, I've moved on to Tuesdays and dipped my toe into Wednesdays. I was like, no, I don't like this. I'm going back to the minis, going back to Mondays. But yeah, it's like the worst thing about it is like when I started doing it first, first of all, it was like, oh, some of these like clues, they have multiple words in them. Like, not the clues, but the answers have multiple words in them. It's like, you should tell me how many words are in it. It's like,
Yeah.
It doesn't.
no.
Oh,
No,
It's
it
like-
just you just have to figure it out.
So
Yeah,
there's
you
some
have to figure it
crosswords. There's
out.
some crosswords that I've done, which will give you. It will say like 4 and 5, So you know that there's 2 words of
This doesn't.
of 4 letters and 5 letters. So that's interesting that they don't bother doing that.
No, they don't, and sometimes it annoys me, but I've gotten used to it. I've gotten used to that mindset. It's like, oh, sometimes like when they, the clue is, oh, this has to be plural, or, this verb has to be conjugated. Like you expected to have ing at the end of it. It's like, oh, that could come in the middle of the word rather than the end. It could be 2 words. And it's like, yeah, but you just get used to it, and the thing I hate the most is just the Americanized spelling. It's like when it's like, oh, the answer's odor. Why is that only 4 letters?
Yeah.
And that throws me off completely.
Yeah. Colour, 5 letters.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
And they do expect. Well, it's New York Times. There's a lot of clues that are
American
completely
specific.
Exactly, completely
lost
entrenched in America. Am I still here?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, it's just completely entrenched in like American culture, and it's like, obviously it's American culture's pervasive, especially in the West. So it's like, yes, I know some of these things, but at the same time, it's like I don't know this weird, I don't know, parks and recreation person. I don't know, or at this SNL
Baseball players.
Baseball players. It's like, how the hell am I meant to know this? They're all called.
You're
like,
a New York Times reader, mate. You must know all of the
I don't read
fucking American people.
But yeah, that's my foray into the New York Times. Shall I talk about my real game?
Well, I was going to say it must just give you that like that puzzle game itch, just scratches that we kind of get from other games like The Witness or Obra Dinn and stuff, where it's a slightly larger puzzle contained in in smaller puzzles.
Yeah.
That a crossword is a very similar sort of thing. It's kind of one clue to solve one answer on a bigger puzzle. So it's it's why I'm not a puzzle I'm not a crossword person. I'm much more of a Sudoku person. And I like that kind of like that exchange of like working out the kind of the lines and the grids and stuff.
With Sudoku, you don't need external information.
Yeah.
No, exactly. It's very much just what you have and kind of how you work that out.
Yeah.
But it just gives you that itch, doesn't it, of taxing you very slightly or a lot. That kind of we get from some of our favorite games over the last few years.
I mean, to be honest, that's why I do like random generator today's daily date hex cells. It's just because I can scratch that itch, get my mind sort of working in a certain way. Bash it out takes me 5 to 6 minutes at the most to do a hex cells randomly generated thing. I've now done 202 puzzles on hex cells infinite.
Yeah, and it's like,
but like it's become part of my routine of just that's a thing I can reach for when I just need to. I don't want to just sit there and read an article. I want to use my brain, but in a different way.
Yeah, and I've thought for many years now. It's like, how come when we come to game of the year and stuff like that, I never talk about the puzzle games I play religiously on a daily basis on my phone. There's games that I literally play all the time, but I've never ever mentioned on this podcast. And it's they're good quality games.
Because they're not real games.
Yeah, you don't want people to scream casual at you.
Yeah, it's I got a folder full of them. Just I was addicted to. Well, addicted is a wrong word, but a game called Topsoil and a game called 20, and it's just play them religiously for every single day. I still play Type Shift every day. And yeah, the crosswords filled, just for the time, I guess. Probably won't do them all the time, but yeah, just filled that gap whilst I've not been in the mood to play anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've not been in a mood to play games as such, but I did come across a game. It did go on sale briefly, and it's called Golf Peaks.
Oh yeah,
Golf what? Sorry,
Golf Peaks, as in Peaks.
So you're golfing in the mountains.
Yeah, but there's no requisite to understand golf or anything like that. It just takes the basic concept of you have a ball and you go in the hole. it's a grid-based, like sort of isometric 3D puzzle game where you have the starting position, basically the tee, and you have a golf ball, and you basically have to get in the holes, a la golf. But it's not like like traditional golf games where, you're doing it to a meter and you're waiting for the meter to, get to the optimal point and then just press a button. It's not skill based at all. It's you basically have these sets of cards. So, like one card could say, okay, when you choose this card, the ball's going to roll two squares by 2 grids. Another card might be like, okay, this one means that the ball's going to lob up in the air. Yeah, jump up in the air and then roll 1, 2, 3, or 4 grids that way. And you basically have a set of cards and you have to figure out in which order to use them.
So do you have an open? Do you have an open hand?
Yeah,
so
it shows you everything. Yeah.
And is it the same? Does each round have the same cards? Like, so
No.
it's like a puzzle, or is it just like these are the cards that you've randomly got and you get in the hole?
Yes. So the cards are tailored to each level, and
that's what I was asking.
And then
random.
No, they're not random.
So it is a pure puzzle game. There is a certain way to do this, and you need to work out how to do that.
But a lot of these, as far as I know, quite a few of the puzzles you don't have to use all the cards. You can use it, less of the cards, or there's certain orders you can use the cards, and you'll still get to the hole. So there is some variety in that. Right. It's not always the same solution to every single puzzle. But yeah, it's really fun, and I think there's 9 worlds in total. I think there's about 100 levels.
Wow.
Maybe some bonus ones afterwards. I think I played it all within a day. Yeah. Because I was like, I just want something to play, and this is just scratching that itch. Like, it felt like not a mindless puzzle game or crossword that you play every day. Something different, and yeah, it's really novel, mechanic, and not really seen it done anywhere. And it ramps up the difficulty and the types of levels and the mechanics of the world. Like, sometimes you've got these sand banks that if your ball goes into that, then it's game over. Or you have certain surfaces that slow down your ball completely, and it's just a really smart puzzle game. That's nice. I think it was $1.99 that I picked it up for.
Not on Android for those listening.
Yeah, because I sent it to you and I was like, oh crap, it's not on Android. However, it is coming to Switch? The only I was going to say the only console that matters.
I was going to say, if it's a mobile game and it's coming to, and it's not Android, it's Switch.
It's Switch. I think that's coming in March 14.
I'm looking forward to using my Switch.
Yes.
I think, to be fair, because I was thinking of the Switch tax, I think it's $4.99. I think that might be US dollars and British pounds, actually. On Switch, what I read from the press release, I think. But to be fair, I think it was free. I think it's $3.99 on iOS. So
that's good.
It's not much of a Switch tax. What, 20%?
Not 25 quid.
No, no, which it could have been for some of these Switch ports. I cannot believe it. It's like, this is a free game and you're charging me $7.99 on Switch. No.
Yeah.
Oh no! I mean, it sounds like it's. I don't know whether it was when you mentioned it the other day or maybe previously. But I typed in golf and then put in P on search in the Google Play Store.
That sounds like
and it instantly populated. And I wonder whether I've searched for it previously. But it, there's loads of other games that then come up which are golf-related games, which may be similar in what they're trying to do. But
this one's a very polished experience. The art style's great. It sort of has that kind of almost Into the Breach kind of grid tile-based art style as well.
Nice.
Yeah, and really nice pastel colours. Yeah, it's a really well-made game, so I'm glad it's coming to Switch, because I'm hoping more people see this game, because it's very, very good.
That's cool. That's very cool. Hopefully it will come to, once it's been successful on Switch, it will then come to Android, hopefully.
Yeah, it has to come up to Android. It's, has to.
Yeah. I was going to talk about Metro Exodus, but I might leave that for next week and continue on with this puzzle game feel, because I've been playing a lot of G30.
I thought that was coming. We are telepathic. I was like, he's going to talk about G30.
It's really good. It is really good. I'm not really that invested in the kind of like the side show story.
Oh, you're not. I found that really interesting.
Well, it's kind of like suddenly you get a certain combination in this puzzle, and a certain word will become a color, and you click it, and that then transports it to this narrative that you can kind of read through. I just haven't really been that. I'm playing it purely for the puzzles.
Right?
Rather than the narrative, because the puzzles are very, very clever, and they build so well that I'm kind of, at the beginning of the game, like, okay, I can understand how this works. I've got to spin this, rotate this wheel to get a different shape or a different location for this shape, and then turn it about, and then I've got these 3 different shapes that I need to get into a certain order, or it expands on that as it kind of goes. And I think that it does very well in ramping up its difficulty. And I'm at a point now, like, I don't know how far through I am, but I'm at a point where I'm suddenly a space where things are starting to get a little more complicated, that I can rotate. It's a set of wheels which are certain colours. So you spin the inner wheel and it will change the shape of the green element, and then you turn the shape on the inner ring and it will change the shape of the yellow one. And if you change the shape of the outer, or rotate the outer ring, not only does it change that shape, but it might also change the colour of the middle ring or the inner ring to then be a red one or a blue one, and suddenly you've got another set of shapes that you need to find out how they work. And then it gets a little bit more difficult, and then they all move around the puzzle. I think I'm stuck on one which is like a mobile phone at the moment, or a telephone or something like that.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I just
I remember
can't quite work it out. And I'm finding with a lot of these later puzzles that I'll burst straight in. I'm like, yep, spin this, yep, do this, do this, do this, do this. And actually, I need a slightly more considered approach. And that it's not the same, it's not that day that I'll get it, but I'll come back to it and I'll restart it. And actually, it's the next day that I go, right, okay. If I spin this here, this will then unlock this shape. And if I move this shape here, then I can do this and I can move this. And these are the sequence of events that I kind of need to work through to get to then spinning this final one, which will put everything in place. It's just very clever in how it gets you to kind of do that, and it's very clever in how it builds you up to understanding how to do that as well.
Right.
I disagree with just that last thing you said, because in the harder levels I found that the game doesn't, it's either one or two things. The game doesn't tutorialize the more, the deeper mechanics that well.
True, it just throws them in. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, you're giving me an easy one to start with, which is what you do when you introduce a new mechanic. And I just blew through that, and I didn't take the time to actually understand.
Sure. Well, I mean, that seems to be reflected by Ben saying he was doing well, and then has to come back a day later. So, which is sort of fine, but it's a weird way to ramp things if the first acts of the game are like a type of puzzle game where we're going to guide you through mechanic, and then suddenly the new mechanics, they stop doing that. That's odd. I'm not a fan of like the gameplay arcs changing in that sense.
It's either that, or the first puzzle is introducing you at a pace that it should be, and then the second puzzle with that mechanic just ramps it up completely.
Yes, I think they both contribute to the same thing. Which is just
so by the end,
if they didn't. But like if they did that in the first stage of the game, where it was like mechanic easy, then you're gonna have to think about how this mechanic works. and then you would expect it by the end. But the fact that they don't like there is this inverse sort of move. At some point, they sort of aren't consistent in this sort of way. Their mechanics are leveraged post introduction, suboptimal.
Yeah. As I say, it's like maybe it was just me, but hearing Ben saying that maybe it is a more universal feeling. But yeah, it's good to hear that you're enjoying the puzzles, even though that the narrative for you is not too captivating. I mean, have you clocked on to the central theme of the narrative, or are you still...
It's. I don't think I have. I don't think I've really taken it in very much.
Right. I honestly do suggest. I mean, it is a bit of a hassle when doing the wheels, and it's like, oh, you have to look at the top of the screen to be like, oh yes, then I press that to get that into like the memory bank. But it is worth it at the end.
Can you revisit it at any point?
Yeah, you can redo the puzzles. And...
No, I meant like if you're unlocking a word they have to click on. Don't. At the end of the level, can you go to a place to read what's...
I think sometimes if you've missed clicking it, you'd have to basically undo your progress to go back, which is counterintuitive. It's like you're trying to get to the end of that particular puzzle.
So that's part of it. Like on a couple of the levels, I have like one that I still need to, one word that I haven't clicked on that I still need to get, and that's because as I was working out a puzzle, I didn't hit in that specific combination for that word to highlight, because I remember one of the things that you said about it was how the story or the narrative on each kind of level adapts and changes. So one of the levels says, these people reminded me of students, and then suddenly you move another piece into the correct place and it will say, these people remind me of my students. It just throws that additional word in there to unlock a little bit more of the narrative. And it's kind of how you know that you're progressing correctly and you're getting some of the puzzle right. But that word might be highlighted, and the way that you then unlock the puzzle in a certain way may never allow you to actually tap that word. You'd need to almost do something incorrect, or you need to follow a very specific sequence of events to unlock every single word for the narrative.
There's a bit of trial and error in that, but some of them, that was a good example that you provided, because even just one word can just change like the entire context of that one narrative snippet. But there are like even like bigger like kind of context changes just by like even one or two words, and I think you can unlock different paths as well.
Yes,
I can remember.
You can,
So there's definitely incentive, not from a gameplay point of view, but from a narrative point of view, to be like, okay, I did that and it's getting me closer to the solution, but actually I'm going to redo that just so that I get that extra word, perhaps unlock that new path, and then get the overall picture of the narrative. So
yeah, it's clever that it does return you at some point to a previous level. So there's one about a set of staircases, and you unlock it, and the staircase moves down, and you go down into the next set of levels. But actually, once you've done those and you've done something else, you then come back. There's nowhere else to go, so you're like, oh, I'll go back, and suddenly you're at the staircase again, and you realise that you can go up. A staircase can go up, and suddenly that then unlocks another set of levels. So it's quite clever in the way that it throws you around a little bit to kind of... I do not know whether you could have just gone straight to up and just carried on through, or whether you had to do those parts, whether it was locked off. Even if you'd have got it completed and up, it would have unlocked it for you, because I didn't experience it in that way. But it's clever that it has you revisiting puzzles, at least to kind of rethink them slightly.
Yeah, and I think they did some DLC as well, which I haven't really checked out yet. But this game won, I'm not sure which award specifically, but it did win some awards, and I think rightly so, because it's not a mechanic that I've ever seen before that's tied so well into a narrative. It's better than it has any right to be. It's really good. So
interesting.
That's another one for your list, Aadil.
Available on Android.
Yes. No.
What, £4? Something like that?
Oh, I don't know, because of Google
like $2.99 or
rewards.
something.
I never really clock the price of actual games. I'm just like, yep, I've got the money in my wallet. It's fine.
Oh.
I don't,
That's the one thing
I don't
I'm
have
jealous
any
of.
Google rewards.
So Google, where is it? It might just be called. Is it just called Google Rewards? For everybody listening, if you have an Android phone, and you essentially want to play games for free, there is an app just called Rewards that essentially just you put some details in, and it will throw up certain surveys for you. And a lot of this, I think, is revolving around Google wanting to understand why people aren't using Google Pay. And a lot of the things I have questions for are, did you visit this place? Did you use your debit card in this place? If you did so, did you get a receipt? Would you send us a photo of your receipt?
Give us blood.
Yeah. That one, there you go. Google
Install.
Opinion Rewards. There you go. That's exactly what it is. I mean, I brought G30 at whatever price it was about a week ago, and I've already got another £2.80 lots ready to go. I mean,
when do you do these things?
A couple of different sort of like things a day, and they range between about 6 pence to 25 pence or something like that. So
it's great. It's like the same with Xbox, like rewards. I've got like just £15 just sitting in my account and ready to redeem at any point that I want, just because I do. You know, I click on Bing. You know,
the only person who visits Bing.
I'm the only person who's getting Bing, but you know what? Making it rain. All that Bing money.
Get that £15 off Crackdown 3, mate.
I'll just pay £2 for Game Pass and try it out.
That's true,
actually want to try it out. Like, looks like dumb fun.
It does, and from what everybody said, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and I could honestly do with a game like that now, where I don't have to think about anything apart from blowing stuff up.
I mean, it's one of those that when you're in that kind of like that little gaming funk, you can try a game and it doesn't quite get you out of it. You try something else, it doesn't quite get you out of it. There's something very specific. I remember last year, you know, that Cycle 28 just pulled me out of that after playing, like, I think it was God of War, and just being a little bit kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do now. Nothing is really hitting now. And Cycle 28 just allowed me to kind of experience something very different to just then play. And I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted at the time. It just kind of like, it just that's what you need, Lucy. You just need like Game Pass or something like that to just give you such a wealth of different experiences to then be able to just kind of get something that breaks you out of that.
Because Golf Peaks did that. But it only lasted a day because I enjoyed it so much.
You need something that's maybe sort of, you know, 3 or 4 days, a week long to just get you back into that. I know it's a lot of what people have said about Crackdown 3 kind of reminds me a lot about like Infamous. You know,
proper.
You're traversing a city, collecting orbs, fighting enemies. There's a little bit of narrative to it. It's all kind of comic book sort of scenes over some narration. You know, from what I'd read, it reminded me almost exactly of Infamous.
Yeah, because like Second Son for me was just absolutely mediocre. It was a launch. Like,
it was. Yeah,
probably what Crackdown should have been, but it's like I just thought, just like completely mediocre. But I, enjoyed my time in it.
Yeah.
Apart from that last boss, which was ridiculous, and the story was awful.
I think we have a bit of an issue where we have, you know, like last year we had absolute like juggernauts released, like God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2, that
Spider-Man,
but just steal so much of the spotlight that you get a game like this, which for a lot of people will be super fun. They'll just enjoy inhabiting that world and causing chaos, making buildings just fucking collapse and stuff. But because it doesn't have that narrative to it, or it doesn't have a specific kind of mechanic to it, that it's kind of almost discarded by people, that people can't, going back to the idea of what is a game. Fucking it's so open-ended that there are a lot of people which will enjoy Crackdown 3, even though perhaps critically it's being compared to and assessed against other things it shouldn't really be assessed against.
Yeah, and it's like I had no idea of like the fallout from Crackdown 3. I thought everyone was just like, yeah, we all understand this is going to be a mediocre game, in development
we could
for
have
that long.
figured that out ages
Exactly. When it was announced, I realised that. But it's like,
I really liked Crackdown 1.
Yeah, but we didn't expect some heartfelt story about Mr. Crackdown and Mr. Crackdown Jr. spreading their arms ashes, So it's like we all expected it just to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
Crackdown.
what the expectation was, given that what was cool about Crackdown was a lot of gameplay elements, not the world, and those gameplay elements are not unique anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but it's it's like a Saints Row game, like 5 years after the Saints Row stopped being relevant.
I think that's maybe some people's issue. It's like, oh, this game would have done really well if it was 5 years. If it was released 5 years ago. You're like, well, yes, it may have done really well if it was released 5 years ago. That's fine, but
it didn't.
Have we got any other games like this out at the moment? If someone wants that experience, where else can they go?
Fuck you.
Crackdown.
That's true.
They can play the old games. I'm tired of people thinking that old games don't exist.
Well,
especially on Xbox One.
Yes, you can go back to old games.
Was
of course
unplayable as a PC port because it used so much resources. But now even the shittiest gaming PC can play it just by sheer brute force. That is a game that you would have had a tough time playing on the PC when it first finally came out. Now any PC with a graphics card can do it.
But
play that
play
game.
Saints
It's fun.
Free. Saints Row 3 is the best one.
No, 2's the best one.
No, 3 is.
Two.
Can you turn into a toilet in 2?
Okay, so 2 is the one.
Can you?
Continued the same trend that GTA games were doing when GTA stopped doing that one more narrative.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed Saints Row 2, but
after Saints Row 2, they realized they could embrace their nonsense and started.
Which was the one with the big dildo?
2 started the dildo.
Yeah, because I was like, that's been in all of them, hasn't it?
Not 1.
Not 1. 2, 3, and 4, probably.
But I think Saints Row 2 is one of the best GTA games. Saints Row 3 is the best Saints Row game.
Yes, but I was still taking Saints Row 2. It's like.
So what I like about it is that it's still kind of grounded in the real world.
Yeah, it is, and it is stupid.
And that's why you hate it.
No,
it's Saints Row 3 where he's president.
That's 4.
That's 4. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm even further ahead.
I didn't play much of 4. I didn't play that get out of hell thing, but I played them all. I enjoyed 2 because, as you say, it improved on 1.
Yeah.
But 3 was when everything. It's like I prefer Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 to all of them because that's the point where they were like, this is just nonsense. Forget the.
I prefer Skate.
3?
No, 2.
I can't get into
played
Skate
3.
because my brain is still wired even till this day with Tony Hawk.
That's slightly more arcadey nature.
Yeah. I was like, how come he's not grinding when I press square? I just couldn't play it.
Mate, while Tony Hawk's was going on, I was all about Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX.
Cool.
That leads us on this week to me touting my shit. If you go over to outoflives.net, I've actually written an article which posted up yesterday, I think. No, the day before when you're actually listening to this, or even the day before that when you're listening to this. Yeah. About kind of like expectation and anticipation. All about maybe we shouldn't measure games against other games and just enjoy them for kind of what they are.
Yeah.
It touches on that. It's about other things as well. Go and read it. Do some stuff.
Yeah, I had a creative spark last night. Just randomly. Started writing something, so I might eventually put this article up on the site.
Appearing either
in
on
6 years.
outoflives.net or Indie Marathon.
I think it would probably be Out of Lives at this point. Or it might just be a Word document I just
Have
You
post
just
on
shared
Twitter.
between just the three of us, perhaps,
Yeah.
at some point. Yeah.
notepad. Yeah.
Let's finish there for this week and talk about the
Okay.
beers.
Oh. I mean, this.
Let's not finish.
I have to say it. Sequel to Hollow Knight got announced. No.
the what?
Sequel to Hollow Knight. A sequel to. A sequel to Hollow Knight got.
Hollow Knight. I couldn't hear the Hollow Knight
No,
part.
I was
You're like,
intentionally
Hollow
blowing
Knight.
my words.
Which is called which
Silk Song?
is called Hollow Knight
Silk Song.
semicolon something.
Silk Song.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they called it Hollow Knight.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting choice. But
Different
when you
character,
I don't know, like,
same world, just a different
Yeah.
part of.
I think that's
I think she
fine.
goes to a different world,
Okay.
but
Oh, God.
it's Hollow Knight, which
Yeah.
is
I think the massive success they got
yeah.
and
I'd
it
call
was
that.
a Hollow Knight game. If it was vaguely
I'd
like,
call it Hollow Knight 2.
Yeah. No, we know sequels with numbers are out unless they're repeats of games with sequels with numbers. Like
That's true.
True, like
Hitman 2.
Hitman, yeah, and stuff like that. Yeah, I can't wait for that game. I'm so happy. It looks so good. It looks like
I still
Hollow
haven't
Knight.
finished / really played number 1.
And you might never do, and that's fine.
I don't think I'll
played
ever
it, and that's
finish
all
it.
that matters.
I think you were trying
played
to
it and I
say
enjoyed
don't
it.
feel guilty about
yeah,
not
don't.
playing games, but
Yeah.
it came off as I'm about to kill you soon.
no. Honestly, I know that Hollow Knight isn't for everybody. It's a long game. It's like 40 hours. Apparently, it's hard. Some people tell me it's hard. I was
Yeah.
probably just
Mate, it's one of those that I'm going through it and I get the grips with it and I'm like, yeah, that's fine, okay, I'm happy with this. And suddenly I get down to a boss which is 3 different people sat in some chairs and one of them jumps down and I start fighting them. I'm like, okay, they're very, very fast. I need to be on the ball with this. Okay. I'm dodging, and I defeat him. Then fucking 2 of them jump down. I'm like, nah, I'm done. Nah, that's too much for me.
excuse
That's
me,
my
they're
limit.
not people, they're praying mantises.
They are, yes, they are.
Yeah.
Which is even scarier somehow.
Oh, that game's so good.
What are they praying for? You were
Oh, you have to see
Redemption.
the evil queen of Hollow Nest or something. There's a deep lore to that game.
Fair enough.
Yeah, honestly, don't feel bad if you haven't played it, never played it, but it is one of the best Metroidvanias ever made. At least try it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Definitely try
I
it.
own it. I just I own it on PC with a broken PC and a dissertation on my brain.
Yeah, that wasn't exactly, you specifically.
Yeah, I'm aware.
For it.
Everybody.
So you can reach us on you can read Ben's articles on Out of Life. You can reach us at tankedupcast@gmail.com or tankedupcast on Twitter or tankedupcast on Instagram or on Facebook, just the general Out of Lives Facebook, because I think we still haven't deleted the Tanked Up Facebook.
No, it's
Because
gone.
I got a note the other day that it was like, these people haven't heard from him. Like, didn't Ben delete you?
Yep. I deleted it and it said in like 4 days' time or 5 days'
Okay, I
time,
see.
no one else will be able to see this. And then like 2 weeks later, it still exists.
Okay.
And I just hit
Did it
delete
say-
again and it's gone.
Are you sure you want to delete?
Gotcha.
Are you sure? Are you
You sure?
positive? Are you sure? Really?
Really?
Don't want
Really?
to reconsider?
Yeah, it's
Please,
gone.
please.
You
we
can
need
reach
updates.
me after next week on all of the things at the OmniArc, unless it's Twitch, in which case it's the _OmniArc. But the odds of me going on Twitch in general were low, and now that I don't have a working graphics card, let's face it, are nil.
I'm sure we're all very proud of Aadil to get into this milestone. Just one more week.
Woo!
It's been 1 week.
It is.
No.
It is
Go
what
on.
I've
we
got one
had.
more week, but mine week is far less arduous than what Adil's been doing and far less important.
I don't know what important. You
It
do
is.
things for people.
No, I
I didn't
don't.
think.
I laugh at people, and
No.
that's what gets me through my day. But
Lucy.
If they wanted to talk to you, contact you, how would they get?
it's Juicy Loose 9 on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, and Untapped.
Nice. I'm at Nova_47 almost everywhere. Not quite. On the things that I own and the platforms that I inhabit. But, Ado, I enjoy how you don't like doing plugs and then beers. But we haven't done beers.
I forgot about
Forgot about
Oh
that.
man, I told you there's my game, which is different from the concept of game, but I am still.
With the 2 beers that you had, Ado, which did you
First one.
prefer? Okay, that's
Yeah.
pretty easy.
The brown porter was interesting, but I think it's going in the exact opposite direction where I think porter. Like, I don't want a lighter, more regular ale porter, and like the brown porter was doing less portery things in a way that like made it really easy to drink, but also sort of unremarkable as a porter. While the pale ale was interesting. It had a little bit of zip. I don't know again how much of the carbonation I lost for the original moments, but I liked the way the pininess sort of helped offset some of that stuff. It just had a few more things going on.
Yeah,
they both were pretty much the same level of easy to drink, but one was doing more tasty things.
Nice.
More tasty things. That's how everything should be.
Well, I think that's kind of how that's what I think about my beers as well this week. I mean, for me this week it's going to be the Dig. It's going to be the Dagger Dagger, because it was just doing a little bit more. It obviously used Citra as well in a slightly different way to how the Fierce and the Verdant used Citra. It was a double IPA, a little bit heavier than the Fierce Verdant beer, but I think with the idea behind the Fierce single hop project, it's one of those that you're like, hey, here's a hop, and we're going to do it in this way, and we're going to showcase it in this way. But actually, if we'd have used a different yeast, it'd have been very different. If we'd have used a different sort of set of malts, it would have been very different. Whereas the Dagger Dagger's like, we made a double IPA. We've used Citra, we've used a few other ingredients. It's super well balanced. It doesn't do too much. It's got a little bit of bitterness to it. Doesn't, push that alcohol through to you too many,
you don't
really
have to compare
heavily.
it to anything. Yeah.
Just so easy
Take
to
it on
drink
its own merits. Yeah.
that I would be exactly as we just said about games.
Merit.
The Dagger Dagger is just very, very good.
I think there should be a clause where you can only say Dagger Dagger.
Yeah.
Australian.
Dagger Dagger.
Dagger Dagger.
Dagger Dagger.
Dagger Dagger.
Just really.
I think you
really
just need to. I
quickly.
think you just need to run them
Dagger Dagger.
into each other and not really pronounce the GER in a strong
Dagger
way.
Dagger.
Yeah,
Dagger
it doesn't
Dagger.
matter if it's Australian. It just has to be of that of pronunciation.
Just makes it sound like it's Australian.
Yeah.
No offense to Australian people, but
No,
purely loaded with
not
loads
at
of
all.
offense. Lucy.
Yeah, it's the second one for me, the barley wine. I mean, the Dunkel was nice. Save for not having a very clear name.
Yeah.
It was. It was light. It was smooth. It was very easy drinking. Like on any other day where I'm not just talking nonsense, could just sit and drink, I would just probably knock that back very quickly. But the Left-Handed Giant, for a 10.5% wine, wasn't too heavy, wasn't too thick, too malty as well. Had a nice balance between the fruit and the chocolate. So yeah, Left-Handed Giant can do no wrong. It's my favourite.
We've been having this conversation almost weekly about kind of like our favourite brewers and good beers to have from people, and it's interesting that we kind of always come to the same breweries time and time again, don't we? That are
There's a reason
just
for it.
consistent in their not even in their excellence, they're just consistent in giving us good drinkable
More than drinkable, enjoyable.
slightly enjoyable. Yes, enjoyable. Yeah, good, enjoyable beers that are of note, I suppose. That you you get a style from them. You're like, actually, this is doing something that I haven't had from somewhere else, and we're finding that the same breweries are popping up time and time again. Sometimes that edges a little bit maybe towards a few more Bristol breweries like Left-Handed Giant and Wiper and True and stuff because of the availability of the beers that we're getting. You know, we don't often have beers from someone like Partisan or Colonel, you know, some of the more sort of like, you know, the London-based sort of breweries and stuff, who I still have a, you know, quite a high bar for. We don't drink their beers from them very often. So, well, let's go to London. Fuck it, next week.
Alright.
Done.
I mean,
you've both got nothing to do after next week, have you?
I was going to say,
That's very true.
to be honest, once after Thursday, for at least 2 months, all I've got is Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay, Friday we're going to Dayat.
Hey!
Cool. I'll see you there.
And see you, dear listener, there as well. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
No.